We are tuned in to fitness and consciousness. Today's episode is called Learning to Fly. I was going to call it Staying Tuned, but as I started working out the outline of it, the Learning to Fly made more sense. By staying tuned, I was meaning keeping aware of the situations that you're in and to be able to, kind of like do the right thing at the right time. And I'll get into more of that later, but then learning to fly came from, my Strong First certification is expiring in May. And I've been thinking about, I was going to go for my level 2. It's for kettlebell instructor training. And I was going to go for my level 2 in April. It's happening on my birthday, actually, when I turned 40 years old. And I've been a Strong First instructor for almost 4 years now. And I think it's an excellent certification. And there's plenty I can learn from the instructors there. And the founder, Pavel Tsatsouline, has reshaped and given new life to my training for sure. And that happened like 8 years ago. It made me excited to be a trainer again. I only wanted to be a trainer under his certification after I learned about him, and it really blew my mind, this kind of training. But now I've been just thinking of doing my own thing. I started as a trainer in 1999. And then after a couple years back then, I quit being a trainer. It was because of the place that I worked. The owner was a real control freak. And then I was just training. I was still training people, just not as a job. I was training friends and friends of friends. And he'd come over. We'd do martial arts and train lifting weights. And I wasn't trying to make money at it. And then when I learned about Pavel, and it was the Russian Kettlebell Challenge at the time. Now it's Strong First. It's like, okay, if I get back into training, it's only going to be with this certification. And it took me some time to develop the skills to pass the test. Even if someone is really strong, it's going to take time to prepare for this test. There's physical things that you have to do, and the technique is super strict, and it's all good. I have nothing bad to say about it. But now I'm thinking, I just want to do my own thing. I don't want to have someone else's certification. I'm going to pause for a second. This light is shining right in my eyes. Okay. Lampshades are very helpful. Maybe I'll do a show about lampshades. There's probably some metaphors there that I can pick apart. Maybe the video doesn't look quite as clear, but at least I don't have this bright light shining in my face now. But anyways, I'm thinking of just going on my own thing. I've looked into it. I can get insurance for training without having the certification, and I feel like I don't really have to prove myself by saying that someone else approves of me. I've passed the Strong First test twice, and the last time even if you're not interested in training, this show is going to be, it's going to go into the greater meaning of it all, talk about relationships and stuff. So even if you're not into the fitness part of things, it will have to do with what we're doing in our business and doing things for ourselves. But anyway, I passed the Strong First test twice, the level 1. And the last time I did it, I asked the instructor to check out my level 2 skills, and he said most of the instructors would pass me on my level 2 skills. So I thought, well, why am I going to go back and do that again? And it's so that I might, but more and more I'm thinking I won't. And I was talking to, I won't say who, but I was talking to someone else who I really respect in the kettlebell community, and I was going to get his certification. I sent him a message about it, and he is available in May. I could fly out there and do a one-on-one training with him. I'm sure I would learn a lot. I'm sure I can learn from him. And so I told him I was thinking about that, but I was also I also told him I'm thinking about just going on my own and not having someone else's certification. And I asked him how he knew it was the right time for him to do that, and I haven't heard back yet about that. But there comes a time. Last night I was I clicked on Facebook and it said that Buddy Guy is live. So I was like, okay, cool. I love Buddy Guy. And he was just about to play the song Feels Like Rain. And Susan Tedeschi, who I'm also a big fan of, was playing with him. And Feels Like Rain is one of my favorites. And they did it, but they didn't do it like you might hear it on. They were just kind of like playing around with it a little bit more. It wasn't like a real finished type of thing that they did. But anyways, he was saying after the song, he's like, when you're young and coming up, you have to play other people's effing records. And he was cussing. And but then what made him a legend was not, oh, he was really good at playing Muddy Waters songs, or he was really good at playing Howlin' Wolf. No, he was Buddy Guy. He's an absolute legend because he's unique. So, yeah, when he was first starting out, he was playing the Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters. And it doesn't mean that he thinks that he's better than those guys. It just means he's himself, and now he's doing his own thing. And he has been for 50 years or something. Buddy has been around for a really long time. He has a very unique style. And, I've heard David Gilmour from Pink Floyd talk about, at some point you become your own favorite guitar player. And he was talking about, kind of the same thing. He's like learning other people's styles. And then, you just learn to do your own thing. So when I was looking for some things to read on the show about it to get my to help illustrate my point, the song "Learning to Fly" popped up, and I don't know if it was like one of the first Pink Floyd songs that I heard, but I remember the video being on MTV. I think it came out in 1988, I believe, was when the song came out. And the video on MTV, it's really cool. You can still look up Pink Floyd "Learning to Fly" video, and it's really neat. But here's the lyrics for it. Into the distance, a ribbon of black, stretched to the point of no turning back. A flight of fancy on a windswept field, standing alone, my senses reeled. A fatal attraction is holding me fast. How can I escape this irresistible grasp? Can't keep my eyes from the circling skies. Tongue-tied and twisted, just an earthbound misfit, I. Ice is forming on the tips of my wings. unheeded warnings. I thought of everything. No navigator to find my way home, unladen, empty, and turned to stone. A soul in tension that's learning to fly, condition grounded but determined to try. Can't keep my eyes from the circling skies, tongue tied and twisted, just an earthbound misfit. I. And it goes on to talk about it. They were literally flying in a plane, and he was learning to fly. And Nick Mason, the drummer of Pink Floyd, was learning to fly. So there's some of the words in here just talking about the friction lock set, mixtures rich, propellers, blah blah blah. Above the planet, on a wing and a prayer, my grubby halo, a vapor trail in the empty air. Across the clouds, I see my shadow fly out of the corner of my watering eye. A dream unthreatened by the morning light could blow this soul right through the roof of the night. There is no sensation to compare with this. Suspended animation, a state of bliss. Can't keep my mind from the circling skies. Tongue-tied and twisted, just an earthbound misfit I. Songwriters John Karen, Bob Ezrin, David Gilmour, Anthony Moore. Now it's talking about literally flying a plane. But you can also get a lot of metaphorical meaning out of that also. And, we learn to fly when we're on the ground first. Here's the simulator. It's not like, oh, you want to learn how to fly a plane? Okay, there it is. There's the thing that makes you go up, and there's the thing that makes you go down, and try to go down at the right angle. So I feel like after starting as a trainer in 1999 when I was 20 years old, I've had enough instruction. I'm humble enough to understand that there are people who are more advanced to me in many ways. But I'm also confident enough that I have this track record of students and clients that's really good. I'm really happy with it. And so I'm thinking I'm just going to continue developing my own system and to have it more defined so I can present it better than I have been before. And I have presented it. I've talked about the 5 elements of fitness: mobility, stability, strength, power, and endurance. And it's the combination of those elements where the magic happens. And that's the performance. And I'm not going to get too into the details of it now, but I do have this stuff pretty well thought out. And I'm just going to keep making it better. And I'm going to, just because I don't want to go get someone else's certification doesn't mean, I'm going to, doesn't mean I'm not going to hold myself to a high physical standard, and it's probably going to be greater than what anybody else would demand of me. So when it comes to doing our business our way, and there's some risk of that. But it's just the right time, I believe. And really, for the most part, most of the clients that I've had don't necessarily care about the StrongFirst stuff. A lot of them never even heard of it before. But some people have gotten a hold of me just because I'm a StrongFirst instructor. They saw my name on the website. They contacted me and they want StrongFirst style kettlebell training. Maybe they're interested in the certification. So that happens. And I can still prepare people for that. It doesn't mean I'm going to lose those skills. It just means I'm doing my own thing. There's also the learning to fly. Like when you look up the song "Learning to Fly," a couple different things could come up. Let's see if my phone and it didn't. There's the Tom Petty song "Learning to Fly," which will be I'm actually going to read the REO Speedwagon song "Time for Me to Fly." There's so REO Speedwagon has a song "Time for Me to Fly." It's one of their most famous ones. Because I'm also talking about this learning to fly, as in when it's time to like leave another relationship. Maybe it's just a friendship. Maybe I'm speaking more of at the moment a romantic relationship, or what has the possibility to be one, or what you hope might be the possibility, but you're delusional maybe. I've been around for you, been up and down for you, but I just can't get any relief. I've swallowed my pride for you. I've lived and lied for you, but you still make me feel like a thief. You got me stealing your love away, 'cause you never give it, peeling the years away, and we can't relive it. Oh, I make you laugh, and you make me cry. I believe it's time for me to fly. You said we'd work it out. You said that you had no doubt that deep down we were really in love. Oh, but I'm tired of holding on to a feeling I know is gone. I do believe that I've had enough. I've had enough of the falseness of a worn out relation, enough of the jealousy and the intoleration. Oh, I make you laugh, and you make me cry. I believe it's time for me to fly. Time for me to fly. Well, I've got to set myself free. Time for me to fly. And that's just how it's got to be. I know it hurts to say goodbye, but it's time for me to fly. Oh, don't you know it's time for me to fly? Well, I've got to set myself free. Time for me to fly. Oh, babe, that's just how it's got to be. I know it hurts to say goodbye, but it's time for me to fly. It's time for me to fly. And repeats, it's time for me to fly a few more times. Sometimes we have our own patterns of, well, almost always we have our patterns, right? And my patterns, well, let me talk about somebody else's patterns. I'll get to mine too. But I have this friend of mine, and I thought she said she was moving back here. She moved out of state to be closer to this guy. And he was very critical of her, and he wanted her to, get a better job, and he wanted her to like just be different. And I'm thinking, I never met him, but he didn't seem like the kind of guy that would be a good match for her. And maybe in some ways he is, but in some ways definitely not. And vice versa. There's a lot of things about him that she didn't like. She's real into health. She's a vegetarian, and he like smokes, and he's overweight, and but he has this other thing where like he's a lot more like financially successful, and she's saying that that's not part of her attraction to him. But they broke up, and then I thought she was coming back at the end of this month to this state. And then when I talked to her last night, she said that she's, staying there, and she doesn't know what's gonna. It's like she knows this isn't really a great relationship and all this stuff, but for some reason, she's like keeps going. And and I guess he's doing the same thing. I mean, I'm not choosing a side, him or her. I've never met him. Uh, in choosing a side, she's my friend. He's not. And so when I'm trying to talk to her and get to these deeper meanings, and it just doesn't make any sense. And maybe kind of a coincidence, but I've had like two friends. She gave me this sage bundle to burn when she was moving. Not to move in with him, but when she just moved from this apartment to another place here, she gave me a sage bundle, and I've done part of my patterns here. I did some things for her. I like let her borrow my car. I thought it was going to be for a couple of days. It ended up being for a month, or almost a month, a few weeks or so, and then it was. I mean, I never like gave her money or anything like that, but it was always me paying for dinners, and it was always me paying for the concerts, and it was always me paying. And we did kind of date for a little bit, but we were mostly just friends. And that situation that I just described fits almost exactly with someone else. I have the sage bundle that that she gave me when she moved, and I actually lit both of them before I started this show today. I burned a little bit of each of them at the same time, and along with some incense. I have this little ritual when I'm getting ready for the show. I put my coffee on. I get my coffee ready. I burn some incense. I might light the sage. I don't do the sage every time, but most of the time. And I just try to set the scene, set the mood and everything to center myself and get ready for this show. And so these one-sided relationships are, it's not like this happens to me every time, but it's happened a couple times. I don't even know that I would call it a pattern, but it's happened. And my last long-term girlfriend knew about the one girl I was talking about, and she was not this person that needs a lot of help. Everybody needs some kind of help, but she didn't need me to pay for all the dinners. I did pay for a lot of them, especially at the beginning, and then after a while, I got to be more of a she didn't just expect me to pay for everything because I'm the guy. And she had thought that, I might have wanted someone that kind of like needs me for that kind of stuff more than she does. And I don't mind helping. If I have the money, someone else doesn't, I'll go ahead and knock it out. Or if there's like, a couple of these concerts, I got the tickets before I knew who I was going with. And when I go to concerts, I usually get the best tickets that I can get. I've spent, there was like a Joe Bonamassa concert, and the seats that are pretty far back are almost $100. And so I paid like $150 or something like that. It was like $300 for two tickets, somewhere around in there. And because I wanted the best tickets, he's one of my favorite guitar players. And why not? Why not get the best tickets? If I have the money, then that's what I want to do. And so for that particular occasion, I went with this one friend of mine, the one that moved out of state, and we were, kind of dating or starting to see each other at the time. I don't remember exactly, but we meet for dinner before, and I'm thinking, okay, if someone, I didn't ask her, but I'm thinking, okay, since I'm I didn't make a big deal about how much the tickets cost, um, or even maybe even mentioned it until like later on. I'm thinking, okay, if someone's taking you out to a concert and you're at dinner, would you offer to pay for the dinner? And in her case, no, she didn't. And so I didn't make a big deal out of it, didn't really say anything. And then she had mentioned later on about something like she thought that like the guy would just want to pay for everything. Like, I want to take you out tonight and, take care of all this stuff. And so from her point of view, she was just like trying to like let the man feel like the man or something like that. And then she could feel like the woman. And, there was something that, it's not a concept that's new to me, but it reminded me of some things when I had Adina Rivers on the show. She was on the last show a few days ago, and she said something about women being the receiver and the man. But she wasn't talking about that kind of thing exactly. But when she said that, it reminded me of all these things. And this other friend of mine, who I was talking about, it's the same thing. It's like I'm usually the one paying for, of all the times we've went out, I think she paid for one, and I've probably paid for, I think 20 is probably a conservative estimate. So I don't know exactly. But like, not everything has to be even for it to be even either. So if I have the money and they don't, I don't want somebody to go in, struggling to like pay for some Thai food. And so like when she paid for it once, like, okay, it doesn't have to be even, but there has to be some kind of effort there. And so that's something that I want to be more tuned into. Like that was one of the things that, like, as far as like staying tuned, as I was going to call the show, and not just be another one of these guys in these women's life that just does stuff for them and gives them stuff and takes them places and like concerts. And because it can be easy for a guy to fall into this kind of thing, and it can be easy for the women to kind of get used to that also, and it's just the way it is. And you're all these guys do all these things, and it's just how life is. So I want to be more conscious of my intentions and more tuned into theirs. And I don't think that either one of them were using me for these things. I think it was just something that's kind of a little more subconscious. And when I don't want to say who exactly, I'm trying to be careful of, I don't want to, I know they probably listen to the show sometimes, not every time, but so I don't want it to be this weird thing where I'm all out and open on the air, and then it's something that I never mentioned to them. Anyways, so part of turned right to it. This is from Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. Then said a rich man, "Speak to us of giving." And he answered, "You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. For what are your possessions but things you keep in guard for fear you may need them tomorrow? And tomorrow, what shall tomorrow bring to the overprudent dog burying bones in the trackless sand as he follows the pilgrims to the holy city? And what is fear of need but need itself? Is not dread of thirst when your well is full, the thirst that is unquenchable? There are those who give little of the much which they have, and they give it for recognition, and their hidden desire makes their gifts unwholesome. And there are those who have little and give it all. These are the believers in life and the bounty of life, and their coffer is never empty. There are those who give with joy, and that joy is their reward. And there are those who give with pain, and that pain is their baptism. And there are those who give and know not pain in giving, nor do they seek joy, nor give with mindfulness of virtue. They give as in yonder valley the myrtle breathes its fragrance into space, though the hands of such as these God speaks, and from behind their eyes he smiles upon the earth. It is well to give when asked, but it is better to give unasked through understanding. And to the open-handed, the search for one who shall receive is joy greater than giving. And is there aught you would withhold? And you have shall someday be given. Therefore give now, that the season of giving may be yours, and not your inheritors. You often say, I would give, but only to the deserving. The tree in your orchard say not so, nor the flocks in your pasture. They give that they may live, for to withhold is to perish. Surely he who is worthy to receive his days and his nights is worthy of all else from you. And he who has deserved to drink from the ocean of life deserves to fill his cup from your little stream. And what desert greater shall there be than that which lies in the courage and the confidence, nay, the charity of receiving? And who are you that men should rend their bosom and unveil their pride, that you may see their worth naked and their pride unabashed? See first that you yourself deserve to be a giver and an instrument of giving. For in truth it is life that gives unto life, while you, who deem yourself a giver, are but a witness. And you receivers, and you are all receivers, assume no weight of gratitude, lest you lay a yoke upon yourself and upon him who gives. Rather rise together with the giver on his gifts as on wings. For to be over mindful of your debt is to doubt his generosity, who has the free-hearted earth for mother and God for father. If I want to get as honest as I can, sometimes maybe there were these maybe hidden agendas is not quite fair to me, because these are, like these two women that I'm talking about, and we did date for some time, so it's not like there was some secret as to what was going on. But then as we became like just friends, and I'm still the one knocking out all these dinner bills. What is it that I was really going for? And sometimes, like the REO Speedwagon song, which I read, time for me to fly. It's there's a time to say no, and I did do that before but there's also the part of me that's not waiting around, not like trying to have something happen, because if there's some kind of you don't want to like try like force things from happening, like a girl is gonna end up liking you from because you buy the dinners and like do stuff. That's not what I'm trying to do. But there is that undercurrent of possibility in the thinking both ways, and those who will manipulate, who will have the women who will have guys do things for them by hinting that something more may be happening. one of the people that helped one of my friends move, this guy she hadn't known very long, but he ended up like writing her this message about how like he knew that they were just supposed to be together, some kind of. She read the message to me. It was really bizarre. She was talking about like these different like time cycles and stuff. It was weird. But so he was doing that from yeah. Anyways, if you want to do something, do it. And then if you don't. But if you're expecting some kind of outcome, then don't do it. If you want to help somebody move, if you want to help somebody with whatever, do it for that. And like as Hank Hill said, which is kind of relevant, it's like hard work is its own reward. And so when you want to be that way, then just be that way. Just be natural, but just don't let yourself be a pushover and taken advantage of by these people. When we're passing on these teachings, and there's my bookmark fell out here. When we're passing on like these lessons to our kids, like so much of our life is our relationships. And I just had to hit pause for a second again to find this song. And I'm going to read something else from the prophet. But here's the song, Teach Your Children. And I used to play this, or when it would come on the radio, when my kids were in the car when they were young, I'd always tell them to, like, listen to these lyrics. And I would turn it up and I would just say, just listen to these lyrics. You who are on the road must have a code that you can live by. And so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well. Their father's hell did slowly go by. And feed them on your dreams. The one they picks, the one you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why. If they told you, you will cry. So just look at them and sigh and know they love you. And you, of tender years, can't know the fears that your elders grew by. And so please help them with your youth. They seek the truth before they can die. Teach your parents well. Their children's hell will slowly go by. And feed them on your dreams, the one they picks, the one you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why. If they told you, you will cry. So just look at them and sigh and know they love you. Well, this song has popped into my mind, and Magical Child by Graham Nash. As I lie beside you, feeling the life that we made with our souls, nothing like this has ever happened to me. I seem to react to a vague memory. This is the way that she said it could be, having a magical child. As I stand before you, watching the love turn around in my eye, I've waited for so long for someone to care. I've waited for so long for someone aware. I've waited for so long for someone to share, having a magical child. Really makes me wonder why I waited for so long to bring another life to this place. Then I finally realized I was watching myself grow up. Can you not see it in his face, your face? Really makes me wonder why I waited for so long to bring another life to this place. Then I finally realized I was watching myself grow up. Can you not see it in his face, my face? As I lie beside you, feeling the life that we made with our souls, nothing like this ever happened to me. I seem to be reacting to a vague memory. This is the way that she said it could be, having a magical child, child, child. From the prophet. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, Speak to us of children. And he said, Your children are not your children. They are sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. Try to put together these different ideas of learning to fly, like teaching the children to fly, to do their own thing, and to make it a good thing, to have them hold themselves to a high standard and not be sneaky. And it's common to want them to have a better life than us. We want to pass down our money in a way, but our spiritual inheritance, our wisdom inheritance. That's the most important thing. And I see as my daughter now, she'll be 21 in just a few weeks. I was a couple months shy of 19 years old when she was born, and she's taking her test to sell insurance tomorrow. And she's been, studying, and it's pretty amazing how things work, and the things that sink in and the things that don't, things that we may not know sink in. But getting to that point where your children are not your own. And this friend of mine yesterday, one of the girls I've been talking about, I mentioned the prophet, and she said that I said, I don't remember what brought it up exactly, but I said that I saw that she had a copy of it, and she said that the one on children was her favorite. And I didn't remember reading that one. I've read quite a few of them on the air, and I thought I looked through the whole book, but I didn't really remember seeing that one. But that was something that I've told people too. There was a guy, a buddy at the gym, and I didn't know he was talking to this woman that was pregnant. I thought he was just saying something about kids in general. And he asked me about advice on kids. It's kind of like saying it across the gym. So it wasn't like some real personal conversation. I was like, the toughest thing is realizing that they're not yours. That's a tough one. We it seems like we want them to be these robots that we can just program and push these little buttons and then they'll do these things, and you program in this happiness and success and doing all the things that you want them to do, and it just doesn't work that way. But then we get these signs, hopefully, these instances where they'll repeat what you have told them. It's like these lessons are sinking in, and there's something about them, points where they'll start to rebel, and that rebellion against the parents may be a good thing. This is something that I'm probably not saying it exactly right, but what Jordan Peterson has talked about, but it's something like they have to show that they don't need you, and we don't want them to need us. So they'll rebel, and then whatever it is that you're about, they're not about it. And in some way that's healthy, because more often than not, they're not always going to have us in this life, and them showing that they'll be okay on their own should be what we want. So going forward here, I'm going to start to wrap the show up, and the learning to fly and to just think, okay, I still might end up getting somebody else's certification, because there are people that I still study a lot and have a lot of respect for. But the more I think about it, and then hearing Buddy Guy last night talk about, when you're young and coming up, you got to play other people's effing records. But then you end up, but you can't just be, you don't want to just be in the best cover band ever, right? You'd like to be known for your own music, and it's so cool to play. I mean, all the greats are still playing other people's songs, literally, they're playing other people's songs. But how many people do you like just because, how many people get to be legends just from playing other people's stuff? It just doesn't work like that. So it's time for me to fly. And I hope all of you can understand the necessary work that you have to do on the ground first, and then just know when it's time to take off and do your own thing, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you everyone for tuning in. The show is just growing and growing, and it's really humbling and motivating, and I appreciate it so much. This is the month of January. The analytics are about 50% more than last month, which is really cool to see. And the month isn't over yet. So I don't mean it's I don't know. I want to let everybody know I appreciate them listening and sharing the show for whoever you think might share it or might enjoy it rather. And if you have any feedback for me, if you want to be a guest on the show, I don't take just anybody, but if you can send me a message at fitnessandconsciousness@gmail.com. And I'm going to talk more about it later, but I do offer online training using video, using Zoom. Can do Skype also, but usually use Zoom. And you can record, or I can record it and send it to you, your session, so you can see me demonstrating technique. I will correct your technique in real time. And a lot of people that contact me are, found me through Strong First, and they just want they don't plan on having a trainer for a long time. They come to me because they do their own thing, but they really want to learn how to use kettlebells properly and then go back to training themselves. So maybe they'll just get 5 sessions, 10 sessions, something like that. Sometimes more. It varies quite a bit. But even if you think, you don't want a long-term trainer, I'm not offended by someone saying, yeah, I just want a couple lessons or something like that. It's one of the things that I do. And I've done that with people too. I've went to different instructors and be like, I want to learn this, and I learn it from them. And then when I have it, then I move on. And so I've had people come to me for that. And then I've had other clients for years. So fitnessandconsciousness@gmail.com is the easiest one to remember. Feel free to contact me about the show or training. Thanks everyone for listening. See you next time.